Hey pretty girls, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is my first video, and this corner of the internet we're gonna talk all things girly, all things fashion, all things makeup. I love to shop. I just gotten into makeup, so I got a little bit of a collection that's growing. I just want to share little parts of my life, and hopefully it'll reach someone and resonate with you guys. So today's episode is going to be a little bit about me and my past. I thought this would be an interesting one. I decided to dig up all my old diaries. I've been journaling since 1992, I want to say, and I have all my books. I haven't written in a journal in about maybe 5 years or so. I just kind of like, life got busy. Just kind of like lost interest for a little bit. Like I love to write, but like sitting down and actually documenting my entire day, I haven't done that in a few years. So I just dug up all my journals. They're sitting here on the floor with me. So I just thought maybe I'd share the journey of like how I met my husband, because I also documented that. We met back in 2013, and I think it was probably maybe a year or two after then that I stopped journaling like every day consistently, like actually writing down my entire day. So this is my little storage bin of all my journals. You can see them in there. I'm also a collector of cards, like birthday cards that I've gotten through the years that were very meaningful to me. I basically keep everything, child. I keep receipts up until I can't keep them anymore. Like I hang on to a lot of stuff, but the meaningful ones, I have them stored in this container and also in another storage container that's on the floor. But I figured we crack this bad boy open and see what's inside. So my books started off as like 3 subject notebooks, because I literally would write down my entire day down to like what I wore to the socks, okay? And then they kind of migrated into these kind of notebooks. So I have a few of these, specifically these ones. I have some spiral notebooks like this, and then I kind of went even smaller into like these kind of books, and there are plenty, okay? I have multiple different styles of them. I used to love these little things because they were easy to travel with, and they have multiple pages on the inside, and I was able to document 365 days of my life, okay? And they keep going and going and going and just going, okay? They're all, they're through the years, basically. So I'm not going to go through these books per se. Oh, this one is missing a cover, but you get the hint. I actually found way deep down in the bottom, believe it or not, I have some planners that I would document my day in. These were actually, because they were planners, the paragraphs were a little shorter. So I wasn't writing like my entire day, but just like highlighting my day throughout the day. I found way, way, way in the bottom when I used to document. Oh my God, this is hilarious and almost embarrassing at the same time. But I actually have to take all the books out to get down to the bottom. But I used to literally write in 3 subject notebooks. Okay, this one is pretty beat up. This one here, this is a 5 subject notebook actually, but there's so many pages that were like ripped out. I don't know what for, but it was a lot thicker than this. This first page, obviously, is from January 1st, 1997. And it starts off by saying, wore dark khakis, gray button-up shirt, Durango shearling, went to take my papi, my then boyfriend, I used to call him papi, to work. And then it goes on, obviously. But yes, I used to start off with what I wore for the day and then continue on throughout my day. But yeah, these are some pages from the year 2000. Oh God. I won't share this page because I literally have the person's full name, date of birth, when we met, and I have a little asterisk by the date that we actually, did the do. So I won't, I'll just kind of show it from afar. Don't zoom in. But this entire page, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 men on here that I dated in the past. Okay, whether they were like actual boyfriends or people that I just dated for like a good length of period of time. starting from 1996, and this particular list ends in 2006. So this is a span of 10 years. Yay me. So yeah, I am particularly looking for a list that I had of the summer that I met my husband, because I literally went on, well, I'll tell you the backstory. The backstory is that I was in a 5-year relationship with someone. I won't get into too much details, but clearly I'm not with him now because that's not the man that I married. But after that relationship ended, I was very heartbroken, as we all are when we break up from men that we once loved, right? So that relationship in particular kind of stung deeply because, you know, there were like plans for us in the future and all sorts of things. But the relationship kind of like ended, I would say early January of 2013. And I kind of like kept it a secret from friends and family. I didn't really want anyone to know. He was very heavily involved in with my friends and my family. Everyone knew him. So every time I was around friends, they would ask about him long after we had already, the relationship was already done. So one day I met up with a friend for dinner. And finally, after like being in my shell for many months, this was probably like around March or April of that same year, met up with a friend, had dinner, and she asked about the guy. And I was like, the waterworks that came down, because I had been holding it in for so long that we were no longer together and just trying to like push through life and put on a brave face, as many of you guys can relate, I'm sure. And so when I broke the news to her that we were no longer together, she snapped into friend mode, honey. She was like, oh no, this is not going down like this. You're not about to sit here and cry and boohoo over this guy. She was like, it's over. It's done. It's been a few months. Time to move on. So by the end of our dinner date, she was kind of like putting the pressure on me, and, you know, as friends do, to join a dating app. This one in particular was called Plenty of Fish. I don't know that I'll say the name out loud. Maybe I'll bleep it or whatever. But yeah, and at the time, I had no idea what that app was, if I'm being honest. She just said POF, and I was like, huh? And then she gave me the full name, and I was still like, huh? But yeah, she insisted that I start a profile, and I was like, no, absolutely not. I was still, you know, trying to get over the guy. You know, my feelings were still hurt. I was in no mental capacity to like date anyone at the time. So fast forward to, plus I was in school. I think it was like my second to last year of nursing school. The semester wasn't over yet, and I was trying to like still, you know, deal with like taking my classes and passing my exams and that sort of thing. And I was like, no, I don't think this is a good idea. But anyway, she persisted. She kept following up, kept following through. And then finally one night, it had to be around like May. I think classes ended like in May of that year. And I was sitting at home alone, bored one day, and I was just like, let me see what this app is about. So I created a profile super quick, not thinking anything of it, threw a couple pictures up on my profile page and left it alone. Didn't bother. And the next day I woke up, boy, was my app on fire, okay? I had inboxes from all sorts of men. But at the same token, I was just not going to date and go out with anyone. So I sorted through them, felt them out on the app, had multiple exchanges via DM on the app, and then I lined those bitches up. You hear me? If you're one of those dudes and you're watching this, I'm sorry, but I had y'all guys lined up, okay? I said, it's time for mama to play. And play I did, okay? I had Harry on Monday, Ralph on Tuesday, Lewis on Wednesday, Phil on Thursday. I had them lined up, and I did everything from, you know, bowling to like dinners, movie dates, just going out for drinks, more dinners, just having a grand old time. You know what I mean? Nobody ever really stuck out. I went on second dates with like maybe 2 of the men, and that was about it. Like nobody really grabbed my attention in that way. If you want a part 2 of like all these dates and go into detail without giving their name and like giving them up, I'd be happy to do a video about that because it's kind of hilarious, some of the dates that I had. But for the most part, I had a great time. It was an enjoyable summer. And then summer was coming to a close and school was about to resume again. Now it's going to be my last semester of nursing school. So I figured, let me delete this app. I don't have time to play with these boys. Like I said, nobody was sticking. So I was just like, I'm done. I don't have time to play around. Like, school was my priority and it was going to continue to be my priority. So one night before I decided to like delete the app finally, I was like, let me give this one last scroll. And one last scroll I did, okay? This guy caught my eye and I was like, I'm going to send him a DM. And if I wake up tomorrow morning and he has not replied back, I'm just deleting this app and I'm forgetting about everyone, okay? Because again, school was at the top of my list and nothing else mattered. So I sent him a DM. And the morning I woke up, I got the DM back because now, knowing what I know now, he always worked night shift. So, of course, he was at work by the time I responded to him and he couldn't reply back at the time. So, by the time he did have a chance to reply, I was now sleeping. And so when I woke up in the morning, I saw his reply and we had a couple exchanges back to back. And fast forward 10 years later, we are married and happily together. Okay. So yes, I can go into more detail about that. But yes, that was my summer. Again, it was a great one, but through it, I met my husband. So I know a lot of people have their opinions about dating apps and like, women should be careful and not be using them or like having discernment. Yes, I will agree. Like, the apps work. I'm not the only one who has a successful marriage via a dating app. There are plenty of women who've met their husband on dating apps and are happily married today. And there are some horror stories, but we won't talk about them. We're going to keep it positive over here, okay? So, ladies, yes, I will encourage you, if it's hard to like find a man out here in these streets, honey, because I know these streets are rough, okay? I don't envy none of y'all that are out there. I'm sorry. Not to sound like but I'm glad I'm not out there in the dating pool because I know it's rough. It always has been, but I feel like it's getting a little tougher now for some women. Some women are choosing to stay single, and that's fine. If that's you, girl, more power to you, okay? But yes, dating apps do work. You just definitely have to have discernment. Like, I was not dating Tom, Dick, and Harry, okay? I was definitely being cautious about who I lined up and who I actually went on dates with. And actually, some of the dates, I even brought a friend along. And some of them brought friends along as well. So that always worked out really cool. But I was very cautious. I never brought anyone to my house. No one ever knew the vicinity of where I lived. They might have known the borough because I'm from New York. I'd say I'm from the Bronx and that's all they got, okay? I never gave them a close proximity to where I lived. No one ever came to my apartment. I didn't play those games. One guy invited me over to his house. I did not go. I went to meet him at his place. And then from there, we went to the movies. But, he invited me upstairs and I was like, nope, I'll wait in my car for you. And that I did. Okay. So I was very cautious. There were never any scary moments. Like, I never had any fears or any worries about any of these men. Again, I always met these men in New York. I never went to a different state. Of course, I went out of borough because, I'm from New York, so I knew my way around. So I would meet them, in the city and then come back home and, we go our separate ways. But it was a fun time. I encourage you women who are in the dating apps to just keep your options open. Definitely be cautious. You got to weed the bad ones out. I had to do that many a times. There were so many men in my DM, but I chose to like weed the bad ones out. And so I only went forward on a date with those that I felt comfortable. They had good game or whatever. They were, for the most part, they were good men, gentlemen or whatever, but there was no common interest there. Like, we would go out on a date. Some of them would be nice and smooth. Some of them would be kind of like, I'm, pushing the conversation along. Some were just not my type. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't match their profile picture, or they did. And it's just, once you have that in-person energy, you kind of know. And so for the most part, none of them really stuck. And then when I met my husband, surprisingly enough, although I couldn't really gauge from his photos, obviously I saw his face, but I couldn't see how tall he was. Like, I didn't know his build really. A lot of his pictures were like from the chest up. or like from his shoulders up or just his face. So I knew his complexion. I knew that he was black. I love black men. No shade to any of the other men that are watching here that are of a different race. But yeah, he definitely fit my type, if you will. Definitely dated men that were not my type, and I've had long-term relationships with them. But if someone had asked me, visually what my type was, it was they definitely had to be black. They definitely had to be tall. And I loved a light-skinned dude. Okay. Although I've dated many dark-skinned dudes, no hate to the dark-skinned men. I love y'all just the same. But that was just my type at the time. So yes, we met, and just on looks alone, I was like, oh, sold. And then the more we conversed, the more we hung out, and the more time I got to spend with him, it was just like, I love the person he was and still is to this day. He has not changed. He's always been the same man that he is. He's gotten better with time. Of course, once we started to live with each other, and now that we're like happily married, we've been together 10 years. We've only been married 2, but the relationship is just, of course, like any other. We have our ups and downs. We argue, we fuss, we fight, we make up, and we keep it trekking. So it hasn't been 10 long years for nothing. This is actually the longest relationship that I've had. So I love him. I appreciate him. He takes good care of me. We do very well together. We complement each other. Like, I love him. So this is just, I guess hope for you women that are like looking to be in a relationship or to have that companion. The apps do work. I stand by them because, again, I met my husband through an app, but you just have to be careful because there are some weirdos out there and you don't want to get yourself caught up. But I would say weed them out, talk to them for a while before you actually meet up with them. See what they're about, They say actions speak louder than words, but you can tell a lot through what people say to you behind, a phone. So, keep your ears pierced. If you have to let, a friend know where you're going, who you're meeting up with, the name that they give you, as much information as you can. I mean, I'm from New York, so I was very like bold and like bout it, like we used to say back then. So I wasn't like scared, and I didn't necessarily like give every friend all the information of these men that I was meeting. I was just going out and dating them. But I also knew to be aware, like, of my surroundings. Like, I never went to anyone's house. No one ever came to my house. We always met in the city. If you know anything about New York, the city is a good ways from the Bronx. You know what I mean? Depending on where in the city you go. But no one ever knew, like, where I lived, ever. So just keep those things in mind. But yeah, anyway, that's my story on my dating history, I guess you would say, and like how I met my husband. I wouldn't change a thing. But yes, going back to my diaries and how I documented my life, I actually want to start getting back into that. I enjoy writing, and I haven't in a few years, as I mentioned. So I definitely want to get back into that. It's something that I enjoy. I thought very early on in my life too to write a book at one point, and I was like, I was kind of young, and I'm like, maybe I have so much more to say, like, if I live a little bit more. So, I'm a woman in her 40s, okay? I mean, I look it, but yes, I am mature. So maybe I'll revisit that maybe in a couple years. But for right now, I have all my journals. I can always go back and maybe put a book together, pull out the pieces that can actually, inspire somebody or motivate someone or just give someone hope. You know what I mean? So hopefully I can make that contribution into the future at some point and add author to my name. That'll be super cool. But anyway, yeah, that's a little bit about me, girls. Maybe one day we'll get into it. Okay. If you're interested in that type of video, subscribe. You know what to do. Hit that bell, do all the things. All right. This is new to me, so we will figure this out together. Okay. So come along in this journey with me. Get to know more about me. We'll do lots and lots of shopping because that's something that I enjoy. I look a mess right now because I just came home from work and figured, let me turn the camera on, because if I don't turn it on now, I'm never going to turn it on. So I may turn this into like a little Vlogmas maybe for like my first time. Why not? Try something new. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just do a little bit each day. Today is December 1st, 2024. So I'll do a little bit, you know, document a little bit of my day each day, and then turn it into like a weekly vlog, and then maybe do a once a week video over the course of Vlogmas. I'm new to this again, so bear with me, give me some time, but if you stick around, these things will get super juicy, very interesting and fun and all the things, okay? So tune in, stay a little. I hope you stay anyway, and yeah, that's me. Welcome to my channel, guys. Bye.